She wore a silk dress that shimmered like liquid moonlight under the train's dim fluorescent bulbs. Her hair, pinned neatly hours ago, now hung loose against her shoulders, evidence of a long day lived in celebration, or heartbreak. In her lap rested a bouquet of roses, their edges beginning to curl, as though they too were tired. She leaned against the glass, eyelids heavy, and within moments, slipped into the quiet world of dreams. Most passengers glanced and looked away. Some smiled faintly, others whispered carelessly, but no one paused long enough to notice what her sleep truly meant, her fragility, her unguarded state, her story untold. Except one. Across the aisle sat a man in his late 60s. His gray suit was worn, his tie loosened, his briefcase tucked neatly at his feet. His eyes, deep-set, weary, but kind, never left her. He noticed the way her hand clutched the roses even in sleep, as though protecting them was her final task. He noticed how alone she looked, and how the world around her was too quick to forget. His own stop had passed 15 minutes earlier, but he hadn't moved. Something inside him ached, a memory, a scar. His daughter, years ago, had fallen asleep on a train and never returned home. That night had shattered his life. Tonight, watching this young woman, he whispered to himself, not again. Not her. With quiet resolve, he adjusted his tie, straightened his posture, and stayed seated. He would miss another stop, another hour, another night of rest. But this wasn't an inconvenience. This was his duty. His chance at redemption. Tonight, he would not fail someone's daughter again. The train thundered on, screeching through darkened tunnels and empty stations. Passengers filtered in and out, their chatter echoing briefly before fading into the metallic hum of the tracks. The young woman remained asleep, roses sliding toward the floor. With deliberate care, the man leaned forward and placed them back in her arms. His touch was careful, almost ceremonial, as if he were handling something sacred. Across the carriage, a group of teenagers laughed too loudly, their voices sharp in the quiet night. One of them glanced toward the girl, smirking at her drooping posture. The man's shoulders stiffened, his eyes narrowing just slightly, a silent warning in his gaze. The boy looked away, shrugging it off. Every moment carried weight for him. Watching her breathe softly reminded him of his daughter, Anna. She too had once been young, vibrant, and unstoppable, until one fateful night when exhaustion guided her to the wrong stop, and life's cruelty did the rest. He had been waiting at home that evening, soup simmering on the stove, certain she would walk in smiling. But she never came. That wound had never healed. Yet here, in this carriage, he felt time folding in on itself. A second chance. Not to bring Anna back, but to honor her memory by guarding someone else. When the conductor passed, calling out, "Final destination approaching," the man leaned in. "Excuse me, sir, do you know where this young lady gets off?" The conductor shook his head casually. "Not sure. Last train ends here though." The man sat back, exhaling slowly. He knew now. Wherever she needed to go, however long it took, he was staying. Until she was safe. The brakes screeched as the train rolled into its final station. The sudden jolt stirred the girl awake. She blinked rapidly, confusion flooding her face as reality set in. Her eyes darted to the station sign, then to the nearly empty carriage. "No, no, no," she whispered, clutching the roses tightly. "I missed my stop." Her voice broke, trembling with panic. The man rose gently, keeping his tone calm. "It's all right, miss. You're not alone." But she shook her head, tears welling. "You don't understand. Tonight was everything. My mother was honored for her lifetime of teaching. I promised her I'd be home right after the ceremony. She worries about me too much. I've failed her again." Her words cracked under guilt. He paused, then reached into his worn wallet. From it, he pulled a faded photograph, a girl in a graduation cap, her smile radiant, frozen in time. His fingers trembled as he held it out. "This was my daughter, Anna. She didn't make it home one night. I wasn't there for her. But I can be here for you." Her tear-streaked face lifted, her suspicion giving way to something softer. This wasn't rehearsed. It wasn't manipulation. It was raw truth. "Why would you do this for me?" she asked, her voice barely a whisper. He met her gaze with fatherly steadiness. "Because someone else's daughter deserves to get home safe. Tonight, that's enough." For a long moment, silence hung between them. Then, slowly, she nodded. A fragile trust was born in that carriage, a bond not of blood, but of humanity. The night was damp, the streets glistening under scattered streetlights as they walked together. She held her roses close, the silk of her dress brushing against the cool night air. The man walked slightly ahead, shoulders squared, as if shielding her from unseen dangers. They didn't speak at first. The only sounds were their footsteps and the distant hum of traffic. But silence often says more than words. Eventually, she broke it. "The roses were for my mother. She's everything." Tonight, she received an award for decades of teaching. She shaped lives, built futures. I wanted to surprise her, but, her voice faltered, heavy with guilt. The man gave a faint smile. "Mothers always worry. That's their way of loving, through worry, through sacrifice." She looked at him curiously. "Don't you need to be somewhere? Doesn't your family wonder where you are?" He hesitated. His jaw tightened. "My family lives only in memory now. But walking beside you, it feels like being a father again. That's more than I've felt in years." Her eyes softened. She had grown up without her own father, he left long before she could remember. She had always wondered what it would feel like to be protected, to be guided home by someone who cared without condition. Tonight, with this stranger, she felt a glimpse of that missing love. A car drove past, splashing a puddle toward them. In a single instinct, the man shifted his coat outward, shielding her dress. The gesture stunned her, not out of grandeur, but out of its simple, protective purity. For the first time, she whispered, "Thank you, for everything." The glow of a porch light came into view, flickering warmly against the night. The young woman stopped in her tracks, her throat tightening as relief washed over her. "That's my home," she whispered. Her voice carried both gratitude and shame, like a child coming back later than promised. From the doorway, her mother stepped out, scanning the street anxiously. The instant she spotted her daughter, her face broke into equal parts scolding and relief. "Where have you been?" "I was worried sick." Tears filled the girl's eyes as she hurried forward, thrusting the roses into her mother's hands. "I'm sorry, Mama. I missed my stop. But these are for you. You deserve them more than anyone." The mother's eyes welled as she embraced her daughter tightly. Behind them, the man lingered at the gate, ready to disappear unnoticed. This was their moment, not his. But as he turned, the mother's gaze lifted and found him. She studied the weary man in the wrinkled suit, the quiet dignity in his posture, the way he stood in the shadows as if content to vanish. Something about him struck her deeply. "Sir," she called softly, "please, join us. At least for tea." He shook his head, offering a tired but gentle smile. "No, ma'am. Tonight I've already been given more than I deserve." The daughter, her eyes glistening, called after him, her voice trembling. "Wait. At least tell me your name." He paused under the streetlight, the shadows clinging to his lined face. After a moment, he whispered, "Robert. Robert Hayes." The name hung in the air. The daughter repeated it, softly, as if storing it away forever. But her mother froze, her expression shifting from relief to shock. "Robert Hayes?" she asked carefully, her voice trembling. He turned slowly. "Yes, that's me." "Do we know each other?" Her mother's eyes filled with tears. "You may not remember me. But 20 years ago, you were my professor. When no one believed in me, you told me I had what it takes to finish my studies. Without you, I would have given up. Because of you, I became a teacher. And tonight, this ceremony you missed, it was celebrating my life's work. You shaped it." The world seemed to stop. Robert's chest tightened as his eyes welled. He had carried the grief of his daughter's loss, convinced that his life had ended that night. But here stood living proof that his kindness had once changed the course of another family. The daughter stepped forward, tears streaming freely. "Then you didn't just protect me tonight. You protected the very legacy my mother built, the story of our family." For the first time in decades, Robert felt something beyond grief. He felt purpose, as if Anna's memory had circled back, not in the way he had expected, but in the way he needed most. As dawn broke, he walked away lighter, knowing that sometimes kindness does not vanish, it returns, carrying with it redemption, connection, and love. And in the glow of that porch light, one family silently vowed, his name, his kindness, and his sacrifice would never be forgotten.